Good, we're on Tetamad Aleph.
Yes, that's Amud Aleph.
Sorry?
Does it say REC?
Near the end of Amud Aleph. Right?
Near the end of Amud Aleph, we had the whole long guide about how to do away with Yom Kippur and still.
Oh, right. How they did away with Yom Kippur.
Right, and this has to do with Rav Shimon Bar Yochai because. I think Rav Shimon Bar Yochai came up in one of the previous pieces here. Let's see. Okay.
It was somewhere, but
I don't know, this is what I'm closer to, I don't know.
Okay, anyways, so the next piece, I forgot the connection. The connection between the next piece ties in something into the previous story.
and what was the previous story?
The story
of Yom Kippur, yeah.
Right.
And how did we get on that? That's a good question, too.
We talked about Eimar ben Simcha b'Simcha.
Right. Okay, perfect.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So Eimar ben Simcha b'Simcha.
All having to do with why you can't get married and the same with all that stuff, yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay, I don't remember. Okay, so the Gemara says Rav Yonasan ben Amisai, Rav Yehuda ben Gerim, Tanu Parshas Nedorim be Rav Shimon ben Yochai. So these two people were studying Nedorim, or the Parsha of Nedorim, I should say. They were studying the Midrashim and the Gemaras and the Mishnayos about Parshas Nedorim, Rav Shimon ben Yochai. Iftar minei be'urta. So they went. Or maybe it's here actually because it's about. This is actually here because it's connected to going back to their houses and leaving the Beis Hamikdash. So this becomes another way to leave your Rebbe. That's the connection between this piece of Gemara and the previous piece of Gemara. So in the evening, they told Rav Shimon bar Yochai that they were leaving. Letzafra had to come after Renee, but they didn't leave that night. So the last year they said goodbye. They stayed overnight and were ready to leave in the morning, and they saw him again, and they begged Rishus again to leave. So in other words, they went over to him and asked him again to leave, even though they had parted with him the night before. So Amalahu, he said to them, V'lav afterisu minei be'urta, didn't you already, say your goodbyes last night? So Amrulay, so they said to him, L'madatein Rabbeinu, you Rav Shimon bar Yochai told us and taught us, Talmud shnifta merabo, v'lan boto er tzarech lifta mena pamacheret. Oh, I see with the connection. So it says a student who leaves his Rebbe and stays overnight in the same city has to say goodbye the next morning. Shneimar, as it says, and this is the connection to the previous Gemara, Mashmini shilach esam by Barachut HaMelech. So this talks about the very end of the celebration with Shlomo. This is the final day of B'yom Hashmini, and he blessed the people. He sends the people away.
They bless him, right?
No, and they blessed him, correct. So first it says the 8th day, and then it seems to say the 23rd day, which is a day later. So therefore you see it must have been that same day. They didn't leave, left next morning, so the bracha comes again, and they have to separate one from another. Okay, so this becomes like a connection to the previous Gemara, which dealt with Shlomo Melech.
Right.
Okay. So Pamacheret, Amar Lebrei. So he said, so Rav Shimon bar Yochai says to his son, B'ni, my son, Amar Lebrei, B'nei Adam Halalu, Anashim Shatzurahim. These people are men of great stature. They know they're learning. And they understood how to say over this drash here. So Zil Gabeon the Livrach, go to them that they should give you a blessing. Okay, so in other words, getting a bracha from a person of stature is important. As you see, in fact, they're the ones who talk about separating from the Rebbe. You have to go get a bracha from him. So Azal Ashkechinhu the Karami Krayadadi. So the son of Rav Shimon bar Yochai goes and sees that they're basically throwing and arguing one sentence against another. That the drash, the way they came up with drasha was they showed one sentence at X and the other sentence at Y. So how do you, of course, compare the two and come up with the true meaning? So what were the two psukim? Ksiv, one pasuk says, both psukim are from Mishlei. They're not halachic psukim, but they're both from the same author. One's Mishlei Daled, one's the Mishlei Hey. So the first pasuk says, Pelas magal raglecha v'chol drachecha yikonu. Okay, Pelas magal raglecha means you're going to choose. You're going to weigh. Pelas is to weigh the mitzvot and decide magal raglecha, the way that your feet are going to go. V'chol drachecha yikonu, and all your ways will be set. In other words, Mishlei is talking about making decisions about doing mitzvot. Decide which is the biggest mitzvah, and decide which you get the biggest bang for the mitzvah you're going to do. If you have various mitzvahs, choose the biggest one among them. That's one pasuk. In other words, that's an important value. You want to maximize your mitzvah celebration or the significance of mitzvahs. Uksiv, but the next pasuk says, a chapter later in Mishlei, Orach Chaim Pentifolis. The way of life is not to judge, and it's talking about mitzvahs. So on the one hand, you're supposed to choose a greater mitzvah. On the other hand, you're supposed to choose a mitzvah. Every mitzvah that comes to you, you should do whether it's great or whether it's not great.
And there's financial mitzvahs, right?
So therefore, you should decide which one, and just the first one that comes up. All right. And so which one is it? So the Gemara says Lokasha. So they argued back and forth, and the answer that they gave to each other was Lokasha Kam b'mitzvah shef shalasot oidei acherim. That if you can have someone else do the other mitzvah, you choose the greater mitzvah. If it'll be will not be a net loss of mitzvah, you can decide to choose mitzvah X because you know your friend will choose mitzvah Y. And kan mitzvah she'ef shalasot oidei acherim. On the other hand, if you cannot find there's no one else to do the mitzvah, it's either choosing among the mitzvah, then the first mitzvah that comes to your hand, you're going to choose. Okay, and this is the first thing that the son of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai overheard them going back and forth. So you see, sitting and watching them and listening to them go back and forth, being very quiet not to disturb them. Hada Yasvei v'koma bailahu. Then they were sitting again, and they were asking the following question. Ksiv says it's talking about the Torah here. Yikarahi mipninim. It is more beloved or valuable than pearls or jewels. And all your possessions will not be equal to it. The Torah is more important than all the possessions that you have. Okay, that's good. But the drash is chafetzecha, your possessions. Hacheftzei shamayim yishvu lach. But if it's God's chafatzim, such as mitzvos, so mitzvos are as important as studying Torah. So in other words, you shouldn't be mavatal Torah for something for your possessions, but if it's come an opportunity to do a mitzvah, you should be mavatal Torah to do the mitzvah itself. That's what this pasuk says. That's a very good value. However, once again, this is comparing Mishlei to Mishlei. This is Mishlei Perek Gimel, then Mishlei Perek Ches. It says, Kol chafatzim lo yishvu ba. All the objects are not equal to it, which means not just afilu chaftzei shamayim lo yishvu la. So even the mitzvot of Hashem, the chafatzim, the objects, the possessions of the Almighty, which are His mitzvos, are not equal to Torah. And therefore, Torah trumps doing any mitzvah. So the first one says Torah trumps your possessions but doesn't trump mitzvah. Right. The second one says Torah trumps even the mitzvahs of Hashem. So once again, how do you reconcile them? So they gave the same answer. First case is where you can have someone else do the mitzvah, and therefore, if that's the case, you should not give up Torah. You study Torah. Let someone else do the mitzvah. And in the case of where there is no one else to do the mitzvah, then the mitzvah is more important. So the first pshat is Kol chavatzecha liyishvula, but cheftzei shemaim is more important. It's where you're the only one doing a mitzvah. And the cases where Torah seems to be more important than all the objects, including Hashem's, has to do with the fact that even if it has to do with the fact there's another person who can do the mitzvah, so you can divvy up and he can do the mitzvah. You can sit and stay. You can stay and study Torah.
Okay, we just got it for a second. We'll get it here. So, Tet on wood base, they're very, very tough.
Correct.
All
right.
Sorry about that.
So,
thank you.
Right.
Me too.
So these are the two things that he heard from these two people, Rabbi Yehuda ben Gerim, and who is the other one? Rabbi Yehuda ben Gerim and Rabbi Yonasan ben Amisai.
Right.
So the child of Rav Shimon bar Yochai is there, and suddenly these guys look up. They're so engrossed in their studies, they don't see. It's not even a child. He's a person. They see this guy sitting there, and they say to him, "My boy Hacha, what are you doing here?" So Amalahu. So he said to them, "I'm here to Amali Abba Zil Gabaya Delivroch. Go to these people to get a bracha." Now you're going to see the bracha that they give him is so convoluted, he doesn't understand it. So I mean, the obvious question that the Mefarshim ask is, how come the father says, "Go to these guys get a bracha"? Why didn't the father give his own bracha?
It's not the same thing.
Well, maybe, but the next question is going to be why you'll see how convoluted what they say makes no sense. Why couldn't they just tell them a straight bracha? Have a great life, have wonderful, have nachas from your kids.
But I would think the father said that because, again, in a way, what they were showing was kavod to their Rav.
Right.
And maybe he wanted his son to see
Kavod.
for that.
Right.
Kavod, maybe.
But what you'll see from the story is, because they give such a convoluted answer, they really send him back to his father, and the father has to explain it. In effect, the father's giving the bracha. So maybe the value of the whole Gemara story is that the best bracha is really from a parent. So, but we haven't got there. So he says, my father said that you're going to give me a bracha. So here's the bracha they give him. Amrulay. They say as follows. You're going to you hear this kind of bracha, you say, "Whoa, my goodness gracious, this is the opposite." It says, "Yehei Rava," may be the will, his will, Hashem's will. The Tizra v'lo techzod, that you'll plant and you won't harvest. That's the first bracha. You should plant and you won't harvest.
That's a bracha.
That's the obvious question. The next thing is ta'ayil v'lo tepik. You're going to take in and you're not going to take out.
Put in.
You're not going to put in.
No, you're going to put in.
You're going to put in. I'm sorry, the other way around. You're going to put in. You're not going to take out. The next one is tepik below to aisle. You're going to take out and not put in. Makes no sense, right?
Yeah, but that's good.
Might be good.
You want to be a taker. Why do you want to be a giver?
Depends what you're taking. Depends what you're taking. Depends is it talking about planting and not getting anything out? What are you taking?
It's more like one of the mysterious oracles.
Okay, right. Lachrav beitech v'leitav ushbizech. Your house should be destroyed, and your inn or tavern should be inhabited. Sounds getting worse. And the last one is laval ve'ptorach, that your table should get messed up. Torah is your table. You shouldn't see a new year. So this sounds like, goodness me, what did he get into? That's right. So the poor guy hears this and kind of like shakes his head and said, "Oh goodness me, what was my father thinking?" So ki asal gabe avuha, when he comes to his father, so Amalei said to his father, "Lo mi boy de bruchi lo birchan el tziuri tziura." Not only they didn't give me a bracha, they gave me the opposite. They gave me trouble, because whatever they said, it means true. So Amalei, so Rav Shimon bar Yochai said to him, "My Amrulach, what did they say to you? What exactly was this non-bracha that they told you?" So he told him exactly what it was. Amalei, so he said to him, this is what they told me. Amalei, so Rav Shimon bar Yochai said back to his son, these are all brachas. You just have to know what you're being blessed for. What was the first one? Tizra v'lo techzad. You're going to plant and you won't take back. You won't bring harvest. Tolid banim v'lo yamusu. You're going to convert the children. They won't die. They're going to outlive you. You'll never take them back.
How do you know it's referring to that?
That's what he says. That's the pshat bracha.
Saying these are such wise.
You can make anything that's negative into positive if you just substitute what you're
So he basically takes everything is about family. You're right. Correct. And if the bracha is so oblique, maybe it means that. But you get the feeling he really believed this. That comes back.
Believe it, because why would these people curse the boy, right?
Right. More importantly, why would he send them?
Yeah, exactly.
He's their rabbi. He's their Rebbe. They know this is his son. Why would they curse him?
Exactly.
So the kid didn't understand that there's a deep bracha here. So next thing, ta'aya v'lo tepik. You're going to bring in, which is ta'ayil. Ayil is bring in, v'tepik and bring in, not bring out.
Yeah, right.
So ta'ayil kalta V'lo lamutu b'neich. You're going to take in daughters-in-law, and your sons will not die. Okay? Because if your sons die, what will happen to the daughters-in-law? They'll go back to their family.
Right.
Go back to their parents. So that's the first thing. V'lo yamutu b'neich, the lifkon. Your children, your sons will not die, that they would leave. Next is tepek v'lo ta'ayel. You're going to take out and not take in. Toli banta v'lo yamusu guvraihu. Your daughters will give birth, and their husbands won't die. V'lahadrich levasech, and they won't. That they'll come back to you. So that won't happen. Your daughters will give birth, their husbands will not die, and they won't come back.
Come back to you.
Right. The exact opposite of the first one before. Lech rav beitech v'leitav ushpizach. Your house is going to be destroyed, and your ushpizin, your inn, is going to be inhabited. So what does that mean? That's really cryptic. The high ulma ushpizach vahi alma beita. This world is considered like a traveler's inn. You're always on the move. It's a temporary dwelling. The world to come is a bayit. So what does that mean? So before I read it, it means that what's going to be destroyed? Your house is going to be destroyed. You're never going to get to the house that quickly. Right? You're going to really, your temporary dwelling is really what's going to be built up. You're going to live in your temporary dwelling. It means it's a bracha for arichas yamim. Right? You could think it means you're not going to go to Olam Haba. No, it means you're going to have such a long life, you're going to enjoy this world. So, how do you know? How do you know the next world is called Bayit? Ichtiv, Kirbon Batemo Leolam. That this is until in the pasuk we say their houses will be in them forever. This is about a curse against Rishayim. So Al Tigra Kirbam Ela Kivram, that their houses will be forever their graves. This is David HaMelech is talking about the Rishayim. So the drash is when it says Kirbam means read as Kivram. So therefore, you see that
what does kirbam actually mean?
Inside of them.
Inside,
Right.
Inside, yeah.
So in other words, they will never inherit the Olam Haba. Okay. The last part is Leval Torah. Your table is going to be messed up, but bani ubante, with boys and girls. In other words, and the Mefarshim explain, look, this is little kids run around and make a mess everywhere. So whatever you think you're putting up the nice schmancy tablecloths and all that, they're going to destroy it. But it's a bracha, right? And then the last one is, you're not going to see a new year, which means lo tamus intoch, your wife will not die, and therefore you won't have to see him marry another wife. So the year is referring to the wife. I don't know why. Okay, or Rashi explains it's the first year of Nesuim. The first year of marriage, especially, you won't see a new first year of marriage.
That's
right?
Better, yeah,
he won't go to the tzava, he won't be called up. So therefore, you're not going to celebrate a new marriage year. Okay?
Yeah, you're going to live with the wife that you have.
Right. So I said the question really, all the Mefarshim ask is, okay, this is great. So he touched up what the bracha is. How come these guys couldn't just say the bracha directly? That's what they're trying to say. They were really trying to get him back to go to his father. Wanted the father to give him the bracha. The father had to really interpret it and say over it. And now the father is giving the bracha. You should have children, and you have daughters and daughters-in-law and children, and your house you have a richas yomim. So the father has to become part of giving the bracha itself. That's really how they try to understand this very strange story. What's it have to do with it here? This is only brought here as a connection to the first story with Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, which was a drash about Talmud and Niftam Arabo, which was connected to the people leaving Shlomo Melech. So it's kind of gone and gone and gone and gone and gone. Okay, and now that we have that story, we have one more story about saying goodbye. Okay, also a little hard to understand. Similar story. Rav Shimon ben Chalafta ifta minei de Rav. So he took leave of Rav. Amalei. So Amalei Levrei, so he said to his son, Zil Gabe delivrach, go over to Rav, they should give you a bracha. So this is Rav Shimon ben Chalaf, the son, goes to ask the bracha. So Amalei, so what does Rav say? Yehei Rava, may it be his will, lo tavayish v'lo tispayish. You shouldn't embarrass and you shouldn't be embarrassed.
That's a good bracha.
So good bracha, but it's probably not the best bracha.
No, not the best.
Yeah, being embarrassed is actually not a good thing.
No, and embarrassing somebody also not a good thing.
Right, but I guess we're kind of hoping that this bracha would be, you should have a lot of riches.
Yeah, what's the normal bracha? You should live long and riches,
Good more standard bracha.
Those are the kind of brachas anyone can give, right? So but obviously,
what's wrong with the golden bracha?
One that works.
you want one that works? Well, more importantly, you want one that you know is a bracha. Correct, and that works.
This was his whole bracha. This was
so Asa Gabi Avur. So the son comes to Rav Shimon his father, and Amalei said, "My Amalach." He said, "What did he tell you?" So he said, "Amalei milim ba'alma hudamali." Yeah, he said a couple of words, didn't say anything, nothing significant. Not even worth repeating. So Amalei. So when he explained to him, he said, "Beirachacha brachasa de berchen kutsha brichali Yisrael v'tanaba." He actually blessed you with the bracha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to the Jewish people and repeated it. Dichsiv, it says in Yoel, I think it's one of our Torahs, V'achaltam achol v'savoa v'hilal tzal Hashem. You're going to eat, and you'll eat and be satisfied and praise Hashem. V'le'yivoshu ami li'olam, and my people will not become embarrassed forever. V'datam ki b'kerev Yisrael ani v'le'yivoshu ami li'olam, and my people will not become embarrassed. So you see, HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the Navi is saying that we will not be embarrassed by the nations of the world. And consequently, it says lo yivoshu ami li'olam, which is lo tavayish, and the fact that it repeats itself means lo tavayish v'lo titbayesh. So it means you shouldn't embarrass others, and you shouldn't become embarrassed. All right.
Which one said this?
Yoel.
He said that we will not be embarrassed.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu says you will not be embarrassed by the nations of the world. When in the future?
Embarrassed. Are you embarrassed? He didn't say wouldn't be.
In other words,
I'm actually embarrassed when I hear.
You're embarrassed by them or embarrassed for them?
By what some Jews do.
I see.
But this is really about the non-Jews. In other words, it means that we will not be disparaged.
But we are.
But it didn't mean disparaged. No,
we have been disparaged.
So we obviously have not gotten to the Vu of Yoel, correct?
We haven't gotten to that stage.
We haven't gotten to that stage, precisely. We're still waiting. Yoel is a fairly late prophet.
No, so I look at it a different way, in fact. On the contrary, I think with Yoel, of course, my own interpretation, one of the reasons for anti-Semitism is that we're not embarrassed, okay? In other words, when you're held down, like the poor blacks were for years, they began to feel inferior, let's say, for a long time. What really pisses our enemies off is we never felt that way, okay? We might have been oppressed, we might have been verschlugging, but
we always thought we were right.
We always felt that anything they're wrong. You know what I'm saying? In other words, we
were never embarrassed.
We never knew our place. We don't know our place. We're a little tiny nation even today. Who the hell are we?
Speak up.
So I don't know if Yoel is trying to say that. Yoel is trying to say that we should have the self-confidence that we don't really care what people say about us.
We do.
No,
we do.
But I think what Yoel is trying to say, I believe, is that we should not be disparaged by the nations of the world who are trying to embarrass us, regardless of whether we feel we're embarrassed or not.
No, but then Moshe is saying that we have it. If Hashem didn't protect us from being disparaged by other nations, we're being disparaged every minute, all the time, all throughout our history.
We have three kidnappings right now.
Yes, we're well aware.
There is not 3,000 dead people on their side by now. Why isn't there? There should be at least 3,000 in 5 minutes.
No, I got you.
Can't
kill
I'm not afraid.
I'm sorry about it, but
you're right.
That's how you feel.
You have to be crazy.
So that is why we have to daven and pray.
What will the world say?
Not even that. You and I wouldn't actually go and kill innocent.
You say it,
I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about
but you say it, but you feel it. You say it.
Onward. Here we go. Onwards.
Guys, we have to do
There we go.
Yeah.
So we're all right. Now so this is the end of this.
Maybe we should have a short lesson on Yoel, because I must admit, I don't know if I ever studied Yoel.
Yoel is known for the locusts. He prophesies a plague of locusts, and the amount of, and it's a terrible plague, and all kinds of locusts are mentioned. And Chazal have a discussion that they feel that I believe
different types. You mean?
Different types. There are like 15 different types of locusts.
He mentions it by name.
Right.
We don't know if they are.
Correct. But he mentioned it by name. So actually, I think the Gemara discussed at one point which was a greater plague of locusts. And I think they say Makkah.
Well, the one in Mitzrayim, it said there never will be another one like it.
So they said, what about Yoel? Because Yoel seems to talk about locusts that didn't exist then. So I think the Gemara's answer is that there were more types, but there was less of a damage, comparatively speaking.
There were more kinds of locusts, but they
more
didn't
kinds of
cause much
locusts,
damage.
but they, comparatively speaking, the worst of the worst of the worst was still Mitzrayim.
Gotcha.
But-
Study all.
Right.
After you should tell you the science of locusts. It's quite interesting.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Now, coming back to our Mishnah. So the Mishnah talked there were different pieces of the Mishnah, different things in the Mishnah. One was you can't get married on Yontif, on Chol Hamoed because of Simcha. We talked about that. We got Emar Simcha. The next is we said that there were certain things that women were permitted to do in terms of beauty and ornaments and so forth on Chol Hamoed, even though these could be seen as doing work. And they're not necessary, but they were felt to be significant enough that they would enhance the celebration of the Yontif or the Chol Hamoed, and therefore it was permissible to do so. So it says that V'osa isha tachshitel b'chol b'moed, and we'll talk about some of them and what they are. Osa isha tachshitel, Tan Rabbanan. Elohein tachshite nashin. These are the what we call them cosmetics. The cosmetics that women use. Kochelet. Kochelet is what do you call it? Eyeshadow. Right? Eyeshadow. Pokeses is it's like a brush, or it's somehow maybe like an eyelash
Straightener, stretcher,
or eyebrow straightener, or something else. So in other words, Pokeses was something that managed to straighten out the hair. Okay, so maybe it was some kind of cosmetic that straightened out the hair. Umavira, and here's the third one is machloket. Mavira.
Serak is normally a comb, isn't it?
Correct. Well, Serak, Rashi says, is some kind of a potion.
A potion. Okay. I like that better.
So they're basically rouge. Right, Rashi says it's a red kind of some.
I like this.
So you have to consider it's like pancake makeup, like a rouge. Mavira serek al paneha.
Adoma, yeah, they said.
Right. Vika di amre, and some say it's a euphemism here. Maveret, and here there's a two niskot. We have serek al panel shamata. Panel shamala is her private areas, but if you look on the side, he quotes from Rashi and the Aruch that this is not Serek. The Masoras Hashas. Masoras Hashas says you have to read it as Sakin. So this was some kind of razor that they would use in their privy parts to kind of probably remove hair. So in other words, all of this is considered permissible on Chol Hamoed. Okay. And those are 3 examples, or 4 examples that are given. What means Osa Isha Tachshitel? You could have argued that all of these could be deferred, right? But no, they're permissible. Okay, now we got a story. The Bisud of Rav Chisda, the wife of Rav Chisda, Makashta Ba'anpe Kalte. She used to put on her cosmetics, and it seems to be we're talking about Chol Hamoed here, because otherwise it's not that important, in front of her daughters-in-law. Now, so what? In other words, the point of it being that cosmetics are important for a woman and age is no significance. So in other words, even though she already has daughters-in-law, which means she's married and older and everything else, nonetheless she is still together with the daughters-in-law putting up the makeup.
Absolutely.
So Yativ Rav Huna Bar Chinna Kameid Rav Chisda. So Rav Huna Bar Chinna was sitting in front of Rav Chisda, and this is his wife who's doing this. V'Yasiv Ka'amar. And he said when he saw this, Lo shana wal yalda. We only allow the woman to use cosmetics in Chol Hamoed when she's a younger person. Yalda does not mean a yalda; it means a young person. Lo, but an older woman, not.
You notice he said this in front of his Rebbe, not in front of his wife.
He said in front of his Rebbe's wife. Okay?
No, he said this in front of his wife or in front of the Rebbe?
Well, he's watching what's going on, and he says to his Rebbe, he says, I understand why you allow this. The Mishnah says it's permissible, so this is only about a case of a younger woman. An older woman doesn't need this, and the Chazal would never allow this. So Amalei, so Rav Chisda responded. He says, Holokim, he swears by God's name. Afilu imcha. It's permissible even for your mother. And even your mother's mother. And even if the woman is
like
she's going down, right? The Amri Inshi, as people say, bat shitin kebat shit lekol tavla rahat viata. A 6-year-old woman is like a 6-year-old woman when they hear the sound of the bells. These are bells calling them to like a wedding or something like that they're coming to dance. Rashi says a hilula. So in other words,
Shitin is like 60.
Right, Shitin is 60. Right,
yeah.
Shishim. And sheet is shesh. Right. So the 60-year-old is like a 6-year-old, not for the wedding. They got to get dressed up for the wedding. So cosmetics is something ingrained in the way that women feel that they need to be prepared for life and go through life. Yeah. So therefore, Chazal understood this and they permitted this this on Chol HaMoed.
Rafuna must have not been married.
My wife's uncle used to say, I'm a darkness, so it should help you. If you don't need her, it doesn't help you.
Well,
that was a good joke with the cosmetics.
Okay, now then we said Rabbi Yehuda says lo sasud, that Rabbi Yehuda said she may not put on this lime.
Right.
But it's like a pancake type of lime that they put on that stayed on the face for a while, or maybe parts of the body, as a depilatory, because it is nivul. It makes her feel ekeldik, right? While she's got the stuff on it. And so Rabbi Yehuda,
the opposite of simcha,
the opposite of simcha. So Rabbi Yehuda says she can't do this. So Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, and the Bryce explains more what Rabbi Yehuda said. And I explained this to you when we did the Mishnah. Isha la sasud mibnei shenivul hala. A woman cannot put on this line because it makes her nivul. Umod Rabbi Yehuda, but Rabbi Yehuda permits it. Besit yichol kapla b'moed shetofalta b'moed. That you can, if you can take this off, it's a quick acting type of depilatory, so you can still take it off on Chol HaMoed. That you can enjoy the Chol HaMoed. So even though there's for part of the time she is going to feel somewhat disenfranchised from the simcha, but it's still permissible because the end of the Chol HaMoed will still be good. And that's so. Who said this? Rabbi Yehuda.
This is still Rabbi Yehuda, right?
So Rabbi Yehuda says she can't. When can she not use this? Only if it stays on the whole time.
Right.
But if she causes herself some pain, but she gets some benefit from it at the time, it's okay. This leads the Gemara to a discussion now about what is how do you define ultimate pleasure? Is pleasure have to be 24/7, or if there's no pain, no gain?
Right.
If there's pain, but it leads to pleasure, is that considered pleasure or not? Now you say, where do you ever have this besides exercise? So the Gemara actually talks about.
You have that. You invite company over. You have to cook. You have to clean up. You have to move chairs.
Correct.
Same thing.
Correct. But actually, the Gemara talks about doing business. Well, it goes really from Masechet Avodah Zarah, doing business with non-Jews. Right. And the concern was if you will give them money, like on Chol HaMoed, or give them business, right? They're going to now celebrate their Chol HaMoed, their holiday, which is for their pagan holidays, their idols. So what about collecting a loan, right? So the Gemara says we'll see what the Gemara says. There's machlokas whether that's really pain or not pain. It's pain because he's got to part with the money. It's pain that leads to gain because he has removed the debt from him. Yeah. So the Gemara tries to make this analogy. It's a very far-fetched analogy. And the Gemara actually seems to say at the end there's a difference between Chol HaMoed maybe and perhaps between other types of pain and gain. But here's the initial analogy. So umi is the Rabbi Yehuda high svara. Does Rabbi Yehuda? Did I skip a line?
No.
Okay. Does Rabbi Yehuda really agree to the svara? She'af b'shemitzira hi achshav smecha hi le'achar zman. Even though it's not tsar, but later on it's simcha, it's okay.
Right.
V'yotznan. We have a Mishnah in Masechet Avodah Zarah. Rabbi Yehuda Omer nifroi mehem mimnei shemetzar. You can't do business with non-Jews liom edom on their pagan festivals, because we're afraid you're going to use the money for pagan rites.
A few days before, right?
And a few days before, but you can collect money from them from their you can collect money from them because it's going to give them tsar. So who said that? Rabbi Yehuda.
So Ephraim man is what? To take money from them, or
you can receive?
Yes, take back loans.
You can take back a loan. They can be paid back from them.
See.
Okay, this is actually the kutim. Rashi says So the day that a person pays back the loan, it's very difficult. Right? You can't give them money.
Not for you.
Correct. You can't give them money because they're going to use it for their.
You can take away money.
But you can have them pay back.
Pay back a loan.
So Amru lo. So the Chachamim say to Rabbi Yehuda, Afal pi shemeitzar achshav semechu le'achar zman. Even though the guy is going, the kuti is going to be sad now, but it's really a gain for him. He's removed the debt from off his shoulders. So therefore, the Chachamim say you can't take money from him because you're going to cause him additional celebration for his pagan god. So the Chachamim, in this discussion, the Chachamim seem to be the ones who say that pay now, gain tomorrow is a value. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Even though you're going to gain tomorrow, it's pay now.
It's pay now.
So the Gemara's question is: this is the same Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda seems to say in Masechet Avodah Zarah that paying now and gain tomorrow is considered pain.
Yes.
Right, and therefore you can collect money for the loan.
Right.
But in our story, in Chol HaMoed, if the woman puts on the seed, it's pay now and gain a little bit later. That's permissible.
Right.
So the same Rabbi Yehuda is playing both ends of it. So how come? Either in Avodah Zarah seems to say pain is pain. Here he says pain is going to, if that's gain, is okay. So that's the Gemara's question. Because Rabbi Yehuda on Rabbi Yehuda. So Rav Nachman Yitzchak really answers what Archie says. Hanach lechot moed the kulu meitzar achshav v'sameach lachar zman. Everything about Chol HaMoed has got some tsar in it. Everything that we permit is really going to cause some kind of tsar somewhere. For example, you can cook and bake on Chol HaMoed. So why? Isn't that hard work? And the answer is yes, but you'll celebrate Chol HaMoed better. Pay now. So in other words, the value of Chol HaMoed, even if you don't buy into the value of pay now, gain later for dealing with non-Jews, when it comes to Chol HaMoed has within itself the very concept that everything you're going to do has some pain, but if it has an ultimate gain for the Yontif or for Chol HaMoed, it's permissible. So they separate between the two of them. That's one answer. Who answers this? Rav Nachman Yitzchak. Hanach lechos moed the kula meitzar achshav v'sameach lachar zman. And who? It's always going to be like that. And the second answer is Ravina Amar kuti lingen piron olam meitzar. Some people have a short-term concern about money, and some people have a long-term concern. If a non-Jew has to pay back, he doesn't see the longer value that he's going to be debt-free. They'll live for the now, the moment now.
And some people do.
Right.
So he says, no, that's
so he's talking about the Nachli, the Kuti. Says, right. Correct. In other words, basically it's a put down to say that they don't have the ultimate values to see the longer road. So right now, when he has to pay back, you go to him on his yontif and say, "Pay, I'm here to collect the debt."
Right.
So the fact that he has to part with the money, even though in 6 months he won't have to pay the money anymore, but that is for him a meitzar. So the second answer, Rabina's answer, is separating Jews and non-Jews. First answer is separating Chol HaMoed from dealing with Yom Edom, with the Kodesh festivals. The second answer separates Jew from non-Jew. A Jew, on the other hand, looks long-term, so therefore if she is menavel herself with the seed, but if she's going to take it off in Chol HaMoed, it's pain that will lead to gain. Okay? That's how we reconcile that. Okay. So we talked about the seed, and we're now going to talk a little bit about exactly what it actually was. Okay. So a couple of very simple pieces here. Rav Yehuda. This could have been actually before. Benos Yisrael shegil lepirkav lo gil shanim. If there were young girls who reached physical puberty, but they were not yet 12, so they had matured, right? And they had secondary characteristics, and they probably had some maybe.
This is in a 6-month period we're talking about.
Whatever it was, it could be she was 11 years old.
Uh-huh.
She was accelerated. She was matured earlier than her years.
Okay.
So, and what of course she looks different, right? Could have been small amounts of hair that would have
breast development.
Correct, whatever it was. So they wanted to minimize this, that she would feel within her peers equal to them. So specifically, this was where the case comes up. So what would they use? Aniot toflot otam besid. The poor people, they would put on this lime as a depilatory. Okay, that was actually it's a fairly caustic solution. There's a young girl, but nonetheless, the poor people couldn't do better. Ashirot toflos otan besolet. The richer girls, they would use this fine flour. Now, I'm not sure how.
Flour meaning grain flour, or
Grain
flour
flour.
meaning
Grain flour.
flowers?
Grain flour.
This is the kind that used to bring the base of Migdash.
Grain flour. I don't
So
know.
that means how-
I don't know what's in grain flour that would be a depilatory. I don't know.
Maybe
Maybe it was an abrasive.
Maybe it just stayed on them and it just paled like there was.
Maybe.
We know
it was
that.
like,
We know that in,
dough or something. It was
in English history, the women put on some kind of white, some kind of
lead.
stuff.
They used to put lead to get skin
Well,
cancer.
lead was also
Skin
okay.
cancer.
But
Lead,
stuff
you
just
put
to
lead.
make them look more pale, more light.
But the Queen Elizabeth or something,
Pale, yeah,
she
yeah.
put this white stuff was lead. And afterwards,
Well, they didn't know
you
it
start
was
getting
lead, of
stuff in your
course.
face, it started affecting the face.
Yeah.
So later on, they had to put it on because their face was full of like lead potholes or lead.
They thought looking pale was a good idea, so
Well,
maybe
I
here
don't know.
they figured
Okay.
to cover the hair with some kind of white stuff.
Okay, I don't know. I understood this in my mind. It's only a conjecture. This was like an abrasive. Okay.
You're talking about the rich girls we're talking about now.
Yes, that the flour was somewhat of a mild abrasive.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if I'm right.
I don't know, maybe it was like fermented. I mean,
Well,
I don't know.
look at the
dough or something.
Look at the princesses.
Okay, now Benot Malachim b'Shemen Amor, and the Benot Malachim would use oil of myrrh,
Megillah Esther.
which is exactly what Megillah Esther says. Shenemar, as it says in Megillah Esther, Shishach Hadashim b'Shemen Amor, Shishach Hadashim b'B'Samim. 6 months
Right.
b'Shemen Amor, 6 months b'Samim, and then she comes to Achashverosh.
Well,
So, what is Shemen Amor? Okay, so the Gemara says, "My Shemen Amor." What exactly is Shemen Amor? So the Gemara says, Rabbi Rav Huna bar Chanina Amar Sateches. It's Sateches.
whatever that is.
Now,
They say here,
What does it
a
say?
Latin name stacked or something, but then they say oil of myrrh.
Of myrrh. Okay.
Oil of
Good.
myrrh.
All right. So which is how it's some type of oil.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know.
it's some kind of
Okay.
maybe flour.
Makor
So-
Milahi Biyavanit. He gives it Yeshemen Amor. You're right. Doesn't tell you any more than that.
Correct. So Shemen Amor is more oil of myrrh, which was called
You
in.
can Google it.
Satchati. Oh,
Yeah.
he's actually writing in
Sateches.
Hebrew. He writes it in the Greek letters, and then he's something like Satchati.
Yeah.
So Satchati, I guess if you look that up, yeah, Satchat. Satchati has a yud at the end in the Greek. The Greeks call it Satchati.
Oil of olives that have not attained the...
So that's the next shot. The next shot is the next shot is the Gemara. Rav Yirmiyah bar Ami Amar Shemen Zayit Shlohi Vishlish. That this is olive oil that is not 1/3 yet ripened. The olives were not yet 1/3 ripe.
Green, to the brown, to the black.
There are no black olives in nature.
No, the black olives are ripe. I thought.
Black olives have rotted. Correct. They're overripe.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Green is raw and black is ripe.
Don't look at
Well,
me.
it's ripe that
thought they
it's
said
ripe
green
that it
was
has
ripe.
become so ripe it becomes black.
Soft, but
Right.
because you can see olives, you see in some of the supermarkets, like when olive season comes in the end of the summer, you see green and you see some greenish with brown, black, and
Correct.
they're ripening. Whatever.
Correct. It's like tea. There is no black tea.
Black tea's different.
It's oxidized.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was
so
it all thing with olives? I didn't know.
I don't know. Okay,
I
you'll
thought
research
you
it.
were right.
Okay. At any rate, bottom line is this is even less than green olives. These are 1/3 ripe green olives. So apparently it has some kind of compound or some kind of something in it that was maybe acidic, and I don't know. And therefore, this is what they would use, and this is what Shemen Hamor is according to Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba. Tanya, we have another brisa, something similar. Rabbi Yehuda on Pikinon is Shemen Zayit Shlo Vishlish. They have another term for it.
It says here juice of unripe olives or grapes.
Correct.
Oh,
Okay.
acidic or
So it's it's not yet fully ripe. These are
Yeah. The green olives you eat them, they have like a bite. And that's
Yeah,
what it is.
correct. So whatever it was, this was a depilatory. And Velama Sachin also. Why did they use this as a some kind of smearing? Shemashiret asayar umadenet basar. It removes the hair and makes the skin smooth. Okay, it obviously makes it probably shiny too. Okay, fills in the pores, makes everything very smooth. And so this is therefore this. So how did we come to talk about this? We talked about as a correlation or as a corollary of the tachshitim of the isha. We talked about the young girls, if they mature too quickly, what they would use.
Right.
And the Mepharshim say it's not just talking in general. You don't have to know what to do every day. It means they can do this even on Chol Hamoed. That's no chiddush. Okay. Finally, we end up with a wonderful story, which I can't really explain medically, biologically. Rav Bibi Haveli Barta. Rav Bibi had a daughter, Tafla Aver. He actually covered her, his whole daughter, in olive oil. It looks like, okay, or maybe shemen amor. Let's say olive oil. Shakal ba dalad me'azuze. And this he kind of coated her with oil, and this kind of prettied her up and made her skin smooth and shiny and was a depilatory, and he was able to get a dowry of 400 zuzim. Wow. Okay? So that's how good this was.
Go to his, we were saying Pesach?
2 zuzim.
2 zuzim, yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
So,
100, really like,
400 zuzim for
he's
her.
like, how many goats do you want to go to again? Yeah.
So in other words, she was so beautiful that her husband was willing to pay this for the dowry and so forth and so on.
These
Okay.
are not more than depilatory. They must be like including
This
with
is
that.
Ma'adena Tabasar.
Yeah.
Okay, you see these bodybuilders, they kind of they lather
Yeah.
themselves up with this oil.
Well, they did it 6 months for Esther. They were trying to make her look really gorgeous. Right?
Okay. Whatever it is, this we assume it works something.
Sure.
So, anyways, the story's not over. Hahu kuti b'shavuse the Havali Barte. So there was a kuti in the same neighborhood as Rav Bibi, and he also had a daughter, Tafla b'chad zimna, and he did it once. Rav Bibi did it for an entire year.
Right.
He tried it once, and guess what happened? Umeita.
Here it says he applied all over her at once.
I'm sorry.
Covered her at once.
Aver.
I see, you're
Sounds
right.
like all over.
Correct. Okay, you're right.
Covered her all over.
You're right. Rav Bibi did it by limb.
Limb.
And the kuti, he was not as clever. He covered her over completely. Probably kind of choked off all the
The
pores.
skin has to breathe or something.
Correct.
Yeah.
And what happened? Umeita, she died. So he thought he was going to be smart as Rav Bibi, and of course he didn't get the formulation right. So Amar, he said, Katla Bibi Labarte. That's obviously an alliteration. Bibi Labarte. Bibi killed my daughter.
Right away. Blaming the Jews. Yeah?
Of course, right? Not recognizing that there was a difference in the way he applied it. And the Gemara has to explain why Rav Bibi was different. So the Gemara does not say because he did it aver, and the guy did it all together. They talk about the difference in the complexion of the people here. So I'm Rav Nachman, Rav Bibi the Shati Shikra.
I've lost something on this second.
Rav Nachman.
Amar Rav Nachman.
Correct. Rav Bibi.
Rav Bevai. Okay. My Bibi, I guess.
Okay, Rav
Sorry.
Bevai.
Okay,
Fine.
that's why I was confused. Sorry.
Good. Bevai is probably his right name. Rav
Okay.
Bibi the Shati Shikra. Rav Bibi who drank shechar, who drinks beer,
Right.
that changed his complexion and had a somatic change, a genetic change, even on his children.
Oh.
Okay, all this beer drinking,
Strong beer.
all this beer drinking changed his sperm,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So Bayan Bante Tafla.
What happened?
So his daughters are need to be smeared because the skin has gotten very thick from all the beer they're drinking.
Aha.
So the skin,
counter,
or to undo the effects of the beer. Obviously, the leap here is that Rav Bibi's drinking the beer and his daughter has the tough skin.
Right. So
Right.
they needed this, but in a way it was just
Correct.
to counterbalance what the problem was.
Correct. So the Shad Shikra Bayin Bante Tafla. Anad Lo Shatin and Shikra. We who don't drink as much beer as Rav Bibi, Lo Bayin Bantin Tafla. Our daughters do not need to be smeared with this oil. Right.
Quotes Russia here.
Yeah.
Says that beer produces obesity and growth of hair.
Says Sheikher Megadal Seir Mavet Basar. Mavet Basar is probably not obesity as much as thickens the skin.
Oh, okay.
It creates maybe additional dermal layers. That's how I understand it. Okay, Mavet, it would be a different term. That wouldn't say Mavet Basar. It would probably say something else. Okay. But I said the leap here in the story is to assume that if Rabbi Bibi does it, it's going to have such an effect that it will transform one gene to another. Okay.
Right, but it changes the story where we assume that his daughter needed something just like that, and he gave her this stuff. It turns out that he caused it in a way, indirectly, of course, genetically. And you could say one of the reasons you could say that it worked for his daughter wasn't only Aver, but in a way it was the chemistry was counterbalancing an improper thing, whereas the poor Kuti who just
He did drink beer.
He did drink beer.
I don't know. I don't know what to say. Yeah.
Okay.
But there are different types of I guess complexions.
Yes, indeed.
Right. I don't know if I ever mentioned. I know a person who was blind. He actually lost his eyesight when he was as a teenager. His name was Rabbi. He used to hang around in Washington Heights, and he lived with his mother. But he was always there. He was always learning, and he would get around with a cane. You can't really cross streets in New York as a blind person, so he'd always wait at the corner, and someone would cross him. Could be a guy from Yeshiva, it could be one of the locals.
They knew him. Everybody knew him.
Everybody knew
You
him.
see a blind guy,
blind guy. You see a blind guy. The eyes are going all around like this. He's holding the long cane. You see him shuffling around. Right. So, but he told me that he could tell if the person was white or black before he spoke to them by the skin.
Right.
So
yes,
so there's different complexions. There's different thicknesses of skin.
Absolutely.
You would tell me if the skin is thicker. Anyways, so that's the bottom line. Okay, let's let's just start maybe the first 5-6 lines, because there are a couple of short pieces. Then we'll leave the bed for next time. So the last piece of the Mishnah, which is completely a third different topic, talks about sewing. We say a person who's not skilled can sew normally, because their sewing is never skilled. The uman machliv, and a tailor, an artisan, has to be machliv. We'll see what machliv is. So the Gemara says, what is considered a hedjot? Who is a hedjot for sewing? So Amrei devei Rabbi kol she'eno yochel hotzi male machad b'vas achas. Person can't do a stitch all the way through. In other words, there's a whole way to pull the stitch through and pull the stitch through, and you have to do it. You put a little bit through, and then you push the needle through, and push the needle through more, and pull it out. So if you can do many sewing, many stitches together, then you're an uman. If you need to do every stitch in partial steps, then you're clearly a hedjot. That's one definition. Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina Omar, Kol she'ena yochel lechavin imra b'chipas chaluka. A person can't make a straight line for the hem of his garment. So in other words, you are so unskilled that when you end up having the bottom of the pants, they look like this, right? And you've all had that kind of scenario. So that's the case of a hedjot. An uman knows how to make a good hem. That's the definition of an uman, knows how to hem pants. Okay. Next thing is so the hedjot can sew normally. Uman is machliv. So my machliv, what does machliv means? Comes from the word kelev. So Rabbi Yochanan Amar mafsia rabba. It's a wide stitch. In other words, the stitches themselves are haphazard, and it's called machliv, right? Because the teeth of a dog are spaced differently. Yes, there are biting teeth and back teeth.
So is that what we call today the stitches? Like what? I don't know what it's called. We see sometimes on a ham.
Zigzag.
Zigzag. Yeah.
Well, that's done intentionally. But this means that the stitches themselves, you're sewing up something. You have a small stitch, a big stitch, a small stitch. The zigzag is intended.
Oh yeah.
This means the guy does not.
Really irregular.
They're really irregular. And I said, so why is it called machli? Because the teeth of a dog are irregular. All our teeth. We do have canines, right? We do have canines, we have molars, but to some extent they
look all the same.
They look all the same, comparatively speaking, to a dog. Okay, so that's why it's called machliv. And the second interpretation of Yochanan Omar, Shmuel Omar, Shine Kalbasa, that the stitches look like the zigzags. They look like teeth. As opposed to normal stitches, going to be much closer and tighter. These are bigger and they look like they are very jagged, up and down. So the same way the dog is going to bite with his big canine teeth, so too this is what machliv is. So both of those are different ways to interpret what machliv is. Obviously, you can tell if a person is skilled in terms of sewing or not sewing. Sure. So person who is skilled must do an unskilled way. A person who's not skilled can try to do as best as they can because they're still unskilled. Okay, next time we're going to talk about the bed, how to make beds in the ancient world, and then we're going to talk about ovens. Okay? Good.
Okay, very important, by the way.